So Kansas had a lot of areas to address in the 2024 transfer portal. And it was kind of a unique situation because they had to come at it from two angles. First, they had an all American caliber player in Hunter Dickinson who they needed to convince to stay around. And then if they were successful in that, they'd have to bring in guys who can create, who can get him the ball, who can also provide some offense. And that's a tall task because, the portal was exceptionally competitive this year, especially for some of the high-end, high-caliber talent. So how was Kansas able to do? They did exceptionally well. So they solved the Hunter Dickinson problem. They brought in four guys who, all have their huge pluses that they're going to bring to this program. And it's for that reason that we consider Kansas to have one of the perfect portals of 2024. Hello and welcome back to the third installment of our Perfect Portal series. And today, as I mentioned in the intro, we are going to be talking about the Kansas Jayhawks. And so they had, an interesting situation. We talked about it a bit. Hunter Dickinson, who knew what he was going to do? He was eligible to return for one more year, but I don't know if anybody really knew for sure if he was or not. They also had a couple of departures and were finding themselves in a situation where they were going to have just a ton to replace in the portal and a lot of question marks that they were just going to have to address. So, as the portal season rolls along, dominoes started to fall. And, the biggest one was getting Hunter to commit to coming back to school next year. And when you just have an All-American, caliber player who's going to be your centerpiece, that solves a lot of those questions immediately, right? So that's definitely the biggest get of the transfer portal season for Kansas. But then they were able to do so much more. At the time of this recording, they have four guys committed, one of which is shaky, but whichever way he leans will not affect the final outcome or our view on this portal class. But they started off by landing AJ Storr out of Wisconsin, and he is going to be just a dynamic piece for them. So as you look at this highlight package that we have on AJ, there's going to be two sections. So first, is him with the ball in his hands creating and pick and roll situations, which is great, especially with a big like Hunter Dickinson. And then two, you're going to see him as a catch and shoot option because if you want to bring in multiple guards, you need guys who can operate both on the ball and off the ball. So here's examples of AJ doing both of those things.
So AJ Storr is just a dynamic piece to have on your offense. So, he's special in the fact that he can attack the defense multiple ways. He's a threat from multiple different roles within an offense. So you're going to see in the first half of this here, him just attacking the rim and really just attacking the defense off of pick and roll situations. He can get to the rim and finish. He can also hit that mid-range three, or mid-range two, I should say. And he's just all around pretty dynamic, keeps the defense honest at all times. He's somebody that you can go to in a pinch and he can deliver. He's also, a pretty good spot up shooter, which you're going to see here in the second half. His, took a bit of a dip in efficiency this past year on more volume. But I think that he has the traits that are going to allow him to be a good shooter with the additional space that he's going to get from having a guy like Hunter Dickinson down low. So overall, he's going to step into, this roster and be someone that they're going to rely on a really good amount to be that scoring punch that they need as a 1-2 with Dickinson.
Kansas was not done at the guard position. They know that they needed to bring in more to, one, have depth, but two, have multiple, quality guard options on the court at the same time. So they bring in Zeke Mayo, from a smaller school. And the thing that I love about him is he is a highly efficient shooter. So, he knocks down threes at a very high efficiency clip. He's also capable of attacking the rim, of getting paint touches. But what I think they're going to benefit from the most, and what I want to focus on in the video I'm going to show you on Zeke, is his ability to distribute the ball. So he was able to really make some excellent reads as he's, attacking off the dribble and find guys who are in positions to score. So focus as you see this highlight clip on his ability to use his vision to really help him out and put his team in great situations. And I think Kansas is going to love seeing some of this next year.
I don't know if I'm biased, but I absolutely love Zeke Mayo's game. Like, he can score. You're not going to see him scoring the ball in this clip package, but he is a good shooter. He can finish at the rim. He can do a lot of things. But this is what I love about him is his overall vision. Like, he can find the open man and is a willing passer, is going to share the ball when, it makes sense. He's patient. He plays off of 2 feet quite often, which is a trait that I love to see in lead guards, especially. And I think from like a just lead guard perspective, he's going to bring so much to the table for Kansas with the weapons that are going to be around him. Like, teams aren't going to be able to key on him as much. He's going to find guys when it makes sense and get them really good opportunities. I'm extremely confident that the other players on Kansas's roster are just going to love to play with this guy just because he pushes the pace. He's a floor general. He's in control, and he's going to generate so many good looks for himself and for others. It's just a really good pickup.
So you have your 2 kind of main ball handling guard positions taken care of at this point with AJ Storr and with Zeke Mayo. But, when you have a big who is as efficient in the post as Hunter Dickinson, you really have to protect his space, and you have to put a premium on providing him that space. And Kansas, they're a smart program, and they knew that. So they knew they had to bring in some true shooting threats to really keep operating the way that they candidly want to. So who do they go out and bring in? They go out and bring in Rylan Griffen, who from Alabama, who is a really good shooter, can shoot in a variety of ways, is probably most effective in a spot-up role. But as we show you his clip package coming up here, you're going to see him take a variety of different shots. So you'll see him come off of some screens, off of handoffs, being ready to shoot. You'll also see him as just a more true spot-up threat. And we'll focus a little bit in the narration in the video talking about his release and what we love about it. But let's go straight into watching Rylan Griffen be an excellent and efficient shooter.
So I know I just mentioned it, but I'm going to reiterate this again. It's going to be so important for Kansas to have reliable shooting options to give Hunter Dickinson the space that he's going to need in order to be very successful. So Rylan Griffen provides that and probably a little bit more as well. He is a really, really good catch and shoot shooter. He has really good footwork. He gets the ball up high quickly, gets it out of his pocket nice and repeatable. I think, he's going to benefit maybe the most of anyone we've talked about so far from just a shot quality perspective. Like, he last year was tasked with making a lot of difficult shots with defenders closing out, and he still shot a very respectable 40%. This year, I think he could get a ton of unguarded looks and raise that percentage even more and be a really elite shooter.
The last player that Kansas currently has committed is Riley Kugel out of Florida. Now, he's on the fence. I know as of yesterday, he was saying, potentially, might not be at Kansas. And I think that's fine because the way I view Riley Kugel right now is he's more of a developmental piece. Maybe he doesn't view himself that way, but based off his stats from Florida last year and his inefficiency overall, I think there's, some cause for concern, but I want to dial that back because I think what Kansas views Kugel as is someone that they can bring in, hopefully for multiple years, who's going to develop because he has really excellent size. He has the ability to attack the rim, work off the ball, cut off the ball, and can really finish athletically at the rim, which is something that if you can raise your ceiling athletically with a prospect that you don't have to depend on to create and be efficient, that's like a win-win situation. So I think, if he stays around, that's great. It raises your ceiling from an athletic profile. It raises your ceiling from a playmaking perspective. And, he's also a pretty decent defender as well. But I just want to highlight, this clip package on his athleticism and, reiterate that I view this pickup as a really good prospect play. Him being there or not doesn't necessarily affect my my outlook for Kansas or my reflection on this class in general.
There's not too much more to say about Riley Kugel. He brings a lot of athleticism, brings some good defensive dynamics with him as well. But I think he's viewed more as a prospect of someone that in a couple years could be really, really good and really dangerous. But, whether he honors that commitment or not, I don't think it materially changes how I feel about this transfer portal class. But overall, a good prospect to have if they keep him.
So that's the class for Kansas right now as it stands in the transfer portal. I know there are a couple other guys in play, but even if it ends exactly as it is right now, this just has to be viewed as such a huge success for Kansas. And the last thing I wanted to touch on briefly is I love the size that they brought in across the board in this class. Like you're kind of pairing them with Hunter Dickinson, who's already very big and long and at the rim can be an effective rim protector. But then even at the guard positions, I think they're all 6'4" and above. Rylan Griffen 6'6", Zeke Mayo 6'4". If Kugel sticks around, he's like 6'5", 6'6", and can bring some versatility to how you handle things. So the overall just kind of physical profile of this class is very good. From a talent standpoint, it's all there. I think this is the type of class that puts you into that consideration, like Kansas is already in, where you can be viewed as a top 3, top 2, even a potential preseason #1 team in the nation. So lots to love. I think they're in a really good position to capitalize on the success in the transfer portal. But that does it for me today. That does it for our perfect portals. We're going to have a couple more of these, just highlighting a couple more programs. Really appreciate you taking the time to view this and sticking around watching the whole video. If you got something from this, please like, comment, subscribe. Kansas fans, I will be covering you more throughout the season and covering things as they happen. So hit that subscribe button if you want to get my takes on that. But I really, again, just appreciate you guys being here, appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.